Welcome to the Speed League podcast from Southern California. You can play free season-long fantasy motorsports with your friends. We're talking about Supercross tonight. You can still join Supercross season if you want to. We're midway through the season, but outdoor motocross is coming up, MotoGP, F1. Set predictions for all your riders. It's a good time. I'm here, as always, with the man, the myth, and the legend, Ryan Berkman.
How's it going, guys? And I do want to say before we start, we're on different platforms. We're on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. But if you're watching us for the first time and you could leave us a like or a comment, subscribe, it really does help. We're like a small company, small podcast. We're trying to have this game that we have, Speed League, out there for free. It's free to play with all your buddies, and we aren't making a killing or anything like that. So every like, comment, and it really helps with the algorithm to pop up on the different people's pages, just to spread the word and get more people playing Speed League, watching Supercross, and just having fun all around. So I would really appreciate that.
Totally. And yeah, we're just guys. We have regular jobs. We literally built this website ourselves with some friends just because it's something fun we like to do and put it out there. So yeah, support us, do what you can. Okay. So Supercross from Seattle. This was like a super fun race to watch, I thought. The 450 main was awesome.
Yeah, and it was probably the most exciting race of the whole season. It came down to really the last turn. Webb totally took that tight inside line to make sure Sexton couldn't go across the berm and smash him out of the lead. So yeah, it was super exciting. Glad that we finally got a nail biter there. But yeah, overall super fun race, and Jet didn't win. So that's always exciting when he's coming
Which,
from behind.
yeah, unfortunately is like almost the minimum criteria for a fun race at this point. But no, we've had some really good ones sort of separated by a few boring ones. But no, this one was rad. A really unique track because it had rained before and got really rutted out, but was still really raceable. And they were saying on the broadcast a bunch how Webb had a gritty ride. And I totally agree with that. This was like a gritty ride all the way to the end because he was, getting slammed in the back by Jet, going back and forth with Sexton the whole time, and managed to pull it off and make it at the end.
Yeah, and Webb was not the fastest guy on the track Saturday night. I do
Yeah.
think Jet was faster, Sexton was faster, but he was the most consistent rider on the track, which sometimes is more important than being fast, is being consistent, and especially on a track like that was gnarly, rutted, slippery. There were some weird, wall jumps. They were trying to get different lines, and to be the king of consistency like Webb is last year, this year, it really paid off for him.
Yeah, and he made mistakes. Everyone was making mistakes, but he made just few enough mistakes to cross the finish line. Half a second in front of Sexton. I had a thought too. Has anyone in the history of Supercross won more races by less than a second than Cooper Webb has?
Probably not. And normally he's the guy coming from behind and making those last turn
Yeah, yeah.
passes. So the roles were a little switched, and yeah, luckily he was able to hang on to that one.
Yeah, and literally hanging on. He talked about in his what I think is going to be an infamous podium interview about his arm pump that he was having. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, his
There's
arms are as
already
hard as
memes about it.
morning wood.
I love that. Yeah,
And it came
that's
right
that's
after he's
someone
like,
who's who's had a lot of podium interviews and has been comfortable with them for a long time.
and he said, he goes, "Oh yeah, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and my arms are as hard as morning wood." Like it was funny how it just.
That's an interesting contrast there. Yeah. Um, So yeah, but Webb made it through, but Sexton faster. He passed Webb a few times during that main event before making mistakes or Webb made it past him or whatever. And then Jet, Jet had a bad start, which we've talked about before. He's fast, but he's not fast enough to make it if he has a really bad start. But he was going by guys like they were KTM juniors at the beginning of that race.
Yeah, and like Jet was turning 2 seconds a lap faster than like either Sexton or Webb, and he had the speed. Like if he just took a deep breath, stayed patient, and just rode his race, he would have won that race by like 12 seconds. I mean, there was no one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I mean, he like got a terrible start. He like started in like 10th or something like that and just blew by everyone, like you said. And then he just got a little too greedy trying to pass Webb in
He
that
was one
same
second
section.
behind the lead. Sexton was up front with Webb in second place, and he ran into the back of him and fell down. And there was 13 minutes left in the main event at that point. Like he had so much more time to work with. So, yeah, I mean, after so many weeks of just, oh my gosh, he's riding like a veteran, like he will never make mistakes. Rookie mistake.
Yeah, exactly. And like he has kind of grown up this season before our eyes. I mean, he's been like riding like a veteran, winning those races, winning triple crowns, which is more of like a veteran style race. And then, yeah, I mean, like you said, he just let his, rookie rookie intrusive thoughts when he went for that pass. But still, I mean, he's in a good spot, still on points. I mean, it's not like he like crashed and got 15th, so he's still right there, and it's still Jets championship to win.
And I also fully expect him to go home after this and like beat himself up a little bit for making a mistake and then just go out and win the next two or three in a row.
Yeah, like there's good losses and there's bad losses. I mean, if he like went out there and just didn't have the speed and was just getting, left in the dust, that's a bad loss. And you go think, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Am I not training hard enough? Is the bike not fast enough? What's going on? But he was the fastest guy on the track and he lost because of a mistake. That is a good loss to have. I mean, I know that those are easy mistakes to fix. Like, it's not something you need to go and soul search or like tear the bike apart. It's just, hey, be more patient next time and you'll get the win. So, good loss for Jet.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a bad loss to have is Sexton. Sexton is definitely beating himself up after that one because it was in his hands. That was his race to lose and he lost it.
I mean, even going back to last year, it's like this was his MO. Every single time he was in the lead, he would crash. And it happened, I mean, so many times that it wasn't even just like bad luck or oh wow, like it was almost his, MO, his like Achilles heel was he crashes when he should win. And the same exact thing happened. Finally, he's like in a position, he's gonna beat Webb, beat Jet, show, I'm the freaking fastest guy out here. And he stalls, he makes mistakes. I mean, like, I don't know what was going on with all those stalls. Like if that was a bike issue or a like Sexton issue, but I mean, it was something
He
was
talked
going
about it a
on.
little bit on the podium. It was like he was catching his. I think he actually bent his brake lever at some point, and it was like catching on the rut, like as he was going through ruts and was making him stall. I mean, a weird little thing, but I mean, he was kind of owning up to it himself too. But um, all that being said, Sexton is actually my podium lock for next week. It was a really, really strong ride. He showed like a lot of speed. He looks good. He looks like he's actually kind of made a step. And I mean, obviously, he wants so badly to be contending for wins, and he is contending for wins, but not, losing in this case. But I like him to finish on the podium next week.
Yeah, and I can totally back you on that. I mean, he like definitely should get a podium and like barring any mental errors or any like big things happening that him just like crashing out of the lead or like stalling out of the lead or like whatever it may be. I think that he should definitely be there. I don't know if I would predict him 2 though. Like probably I would predict him 3 if it were up to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'll probably go for. And look, he's on my team. That's probably where he's going to end up. That's where I had him predicted this one. He made it a second, but his last four races have been 3-4, 3-2. So nice little average there is third place. I like that for Sexton. The way predictions work in the game, you get him dead on, you get a 5-point bonus. But if he's one off, that's you still get 3 points for a bonus for that for being close. So that's a good way to sort of hedge your bets. Third place.
So then moving on down to 5th place. Ken Roxon. Okay, listen. Supercross. is a team sport. Okay, it's like, yes, there is one guy riding the bike, one guy gets all the airtime, but it is just as much as a team sport as football or baseball, because you have so many people behind the scenes, whether it be mechanics or your like manufacturer that you're riding for, the sponsors, people just helping you train. Okay, you have so many people behind the scenes. And like Ken Roxon has a bad player on his team, and that is the like Suzuki bike that doesn't have a fucking electric start on it. Okay, in the heat, it cost him a main spot, having to sit there and like kick his bike after a small crash. Okay, and literally he was kicking it for like so long that they had to go to the replay to like show what happened, and he still didn't even get the bike started yet. Okay, Ken
He was like
Roxon,
45 seconds down when he got
yeah,
it started.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ken Roxon needs to give Suzuki a like ultimatum and say, "Hey, look, if you don't get a electric start on my bike, I am gone. I'm going to KTM, Honda, whatever it may be, even if he's not, a full-blown factory ride, which I think he could probably get a factory ride somewhere else. I am done with Suzuki. If you don't put it on my bike next race, I don't even care about next season. Next race, I like better have that on my bike." Look at Chase Sexton. He like stalled multiple times and he was able to press a button and then get going again. If like that was Ken Roxon that stalled, he would have got 18th place this race. It is not even an option. Not even, oh yeah, maybe next year if we get the funding for it. I don't. I will start a fucking GoFundMe page and I will pay for like Ken Roxon's electric start. I mean, like for real. Like it is ridiculous.
Cure Kickstart Kenny.
Absolutely
um,
ridiculous.
it is funny. It's like in that heat race when it just cuts to like Roxon on the ground and he's kicking the bike. I have like a weird mental flashback. I'm like, did I turn on like a flashback race from like 1996? And am I about to see Jeff Emig and Jeremy McGrath right now on the side of the track with this guy kickstarting his bike? But look, I mean, I hope it's that simple. But I mean, look, he knew he was getting on a bike with a kickstart when he signed with Suzuki. Suzuki, I don't know exactly what the details are, but I think they got financial issues. They're obviously not putting R&D into the bike. I mean, MotoGP, they scrapped their entire MotoGP team, the factory team, after winning a GP championship a couple years before. I mean, I think Suzuki is what it is, and I mean, if Roxon wants something that's more factory, all the power to him. But you get what you get with Suzuki at this point.
Do you think that a like putting an electric start inside Kenny's bike that is costs one millionth of what Suzuki makes a year?
I mean, I would I would expect that there's a big process for getting into R&D. I mean, you're talking about releasing a new bike, a new version of the bike, which they haven't done in several years, and they should do it. Look, they absolutely 100% should do it, and they're known as the weakest brand in Supercross and motorcycles right now. Every shootout you watch, the Suzuki gets last. That
Yet,
is
like
what it
Ken
is, and
Roxon
apparently
is
they're
freaking
comfortable
getting.
with that.
I know. Yet Ken Roxon is getting whole shots, winning races, kicking ass, battling with
Yeah.
Jet
That's what's
on
crazy. The
this in
bike still works. It's not a bad bike, but yeah, it's got a kickstart, and that's property of a bygone era.
completely ridiculous. Okay.
So look out
450s.
for
Anyone
that.
else?
Speed League will start a Speed League's going to start a Kickstarter for Ken Roxon
Speedly
Kickstarter.
GoFundMe. Seriously. Anyone else in the
Okay, want to talk
450s
about
you want to
250s?
mention? Sure. Let's move on.
Let's let's do it. Levi Kitchen appears to know how to ride a motorcycle.
He had the perfect night. He
Yeah.
got whole shot in his heat, won his heat, whole shot in the main, won the main. Not only did he win the main, he won it by 20 seconds in front of his hometown, home team, family, friends. I mean, it like doesn't get any better than that. I mean, literally, Levi Kitchen could have freaking gone in the kitchen and made a sandwich and then come back and freaking still like won that race. He was so far in the lead. It was completely ridiculous. I mean, freaking someone like Hampshire or like anyone should have been closer than that. It was absolutely insane.
So if you happen to have Levi Kitchen on your team on Speed League Fantasy, which I happen to have him on my team, first place, 25 points, 5 points bonus for a heat race win, 5 point bonus for a main event hole shot. And I mean, if you predicted him first, that's another 5 points. That's a 40 points is possible. I had him predicted second place, just trying to be realistic, and got 38 points for one guy, which I mean, that's enough to win a matchup, which I did.
So it is a known thing in the like racing community, whether it be, Supercross, MotoGP, what have you, that for like whatever reason, when a guy is racing in front of his home, country, home city, they just always kick ass like every single time.
Mm.
So I'm moving on next week. I mean, he's going to be really far from home in like St. Louis. I mean, do you predict him first? I mean, after winning a like main event by like 20 seconds, I mean, like, what is the other options? Like, he like loses 30 seconds and then gets second. Like, I don't really see like another option. I mean, has he, gained that first place prediction after a night like this?
The only reason I would say no is because the rest of the season hasn't been representative of that. He's been really good, but I mean, there's nights where, Smith and or Hampshire are faster than him. So, I mean, he needs to string, at least for me, I probably won't predict him second. And look, he could definitely come out and repeat this, next week. I'm definitely not going to say that's not going to happen. And honestly, next week would be a pretty good one because it's a Triple Crown and Levi Kitchen is really good at starts. He gets a lot of hole shots. So I don't know. It's something to consider. I'm hesitant to do it still, just because first place prediction is like in that window of prediction points, you've closed off one side of it. You can only get close if he's getting worse at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
Does that make sense?
probably no. Yeah, yeah. So it's like you want to like normally give someone a 2 because then if he gets one off forward, one off backward, you're like kind of good. But first, yeah, you could only
Yeah, you have a range.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you're limiting your
you're
range
capped.
of predictions is what it is.
Yeah, so it's very
Yeah.
rare that you like predict someone first, and it's funny because like actually I have Jet Lawrence in my other league that I play in, and I predicted him second last week, and he got first for his third or fourth win in a row, whatever it was. So I said, okay, Lawrence locked in for a first prediction this week. I'd be stupid not to. And then he pulls a third. So it just shows that you like never really know. But
You know what though? You know what's interesting too? I'm looking at the season results right now. Jet Lawrence hasn't finished second once the entire season. It's been first and I mean third and lower. No second places.
and like that's kind of the whole like Tomac debacle too, is that he either
Yeah.
finishes second or ninth. I mean, I know that this week I don't have it pulled up right here exactly what he got. I think it was like sixth or something like that this week.
Yeah, he's sixth.
Sixth. But like really, I mean, it's like second or ninth or second or sixth for Tomac. It's like pretty crazy. But yeah, so it just seems like Levi Kitchen, even with this dominant performance, it's probably best to keep him in the second place prediction.
For sure. Yeah. Hampshire, even who is someone else who's, I mean, obviously right up in the championship. I mean, he had absolutely nothing for Kitchen, and he said so on the podium. He's like, he's been faster than us all day.
But what's like smart, by Hampshire at least, is that he saw and like came to terms with, okay, this isn't my track, this isn't my night. I'm just gonna ride my solid race, not try to push it, try to catch him, and end up crashing. Like Jordan Smith did, and end up getting way down there. So he just rode his race, got a second, which is totally cool. And yeah, so we just rode smart.
Yeah. So yeah, them Shimoda actually ended up in third. Shimoda was crazy fast actually during the main, and I think if he would have had the start that he had in the heat in the main, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to beat Kitchen because I think Kitchen was kind of unstoppable, but Shimoda was running really really fast. He might have been able to beat Hampshire.
Yeah, Shimoda did look good all night. I mean, obviously in the heat, he crashed twice on the last lap to throw away a heat win. So I'm sure all the Joe Shimoda owners were like rooting for that 5 point heat win bonus, and it got snatched away from him with a half lap to go. But yeah, I mean, just a little more consistency from him. It seems like he's just like right around this range, but he has the speed to like get like first. I like think honestly, if like it's a perfect race for him and like he gets a good start, keeps it on two wheels, I could see him winning a race this season if the stars align.
I mean, and that's kind of, he's won before and it's kind of because the stars aligned. But I mean, honestly, I kind of disagree. I don't see, I mean, this was a flash in the pan and non-typical for Shimoda this season. A lot of the other races, he's been clearly outpaced by the top three.
True, but I mean, if you even look at 450s, I mean, it like just like seems like some crazy stuff happens, and maybe like the leader goes down or the top two guys get tanked.
Sure.
I'm not saying like he's going to win off of pure speed alone and just leave these guys in the dust, but he has the 4-4-3-3 are his last four finishes. I mean, that is consistently right there waiting for, two guys to get tangled. And I mean, he's like right there ready to go if like anything crazy happens. Um,
He is,
with
but I
that
mean,
being
that's,
said,
that's not the position you want to be in. You know what I mean?
well,
You want to be the guy that's like, hey, I'm here coming here to win the race, not to pick up the scraps if the winners screw up.
Well,
You
we
know,
can't all be Jet and like Kitchen, Kelly. We can't all be them. So,
definitely.
so, so then 4-4-3-3 was his last four finishes. Where would you predict him coming up? I would probably go fourth. Honestly, after saying he like could win, still you got to kind of play it safe. I'd go fourth for him because like Jordan Smith probably isn't gonna eat shit again next race. So fourth, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 100% fourth on Shimoda. That seems like that's where his median is this weekend. And he probably won't vary from it that much. He's got really good consistency. And look, if you predict him fourth and then he gets on the podium, even wins a race, you got a few prediction points to play with, but a big bonus for him doing really well. So fourth is safe, I think.
So Jordan Smith, okay, he's like the other top guy right there, floating around, doing well, but he started off well, won his heat, got you that 5 point bonus in the heat, but then in the main, he actually had a pretty hard crash where it looked like he almost hit his head on the like handlebars, pretty good. And like what I noticed, and like sort of took from that is okay, in a sport like football, let's say if you have a hard hit, and you're like kind of woozy, they like stop the game, bring in three doctors that are like independent, from your team, and they like analyze you for a concussion. Okay, look at this, can he play? Let's take him in the medical tent, and they take concussions really really seriously. Okay, in like Supercross, there's a race going on and they aren't going to red flag it unless someone's dead on the track. I mean, like, very rarely do they just like stop a race unless there's a really big issue. So, I mean, like, normally if you are a little woozy, they're not going to do shit. Not only do you not get pulled off the track or say, hey, like maybe take a breather, you just hop back on the bike and freaking operate a motor vehicle, doing triples with like other people on the track. It looked to me like he was dazed, confused, didn't really know what was going on, and that he had a concussion and no one did shit about it. And he almost took out like four guys trying to get back on the track and then
Trying to
ate shit.
rejoin. Yeah.
Yeah, like ate shit again. And it like I'm not a softy, I'm not one of those, oh man, what if he's hurt? But it just seems to me that like someone can get really hurt if they're just freaking putting around with a
Uh, okay.
concussion.
So did he definitely hit his head? Because I couldn't tell, but it almost kind of looked to me from like the slow-mos of the crash, like he might have like taken his chest into the handlebars and like knocked his wind out or something. And he was on the side, but I don't know for sure. But I mean, he definitely was riding like he got hit in the head. I agree with that because yeah, when he came on, he literally almost on the second crash, he almost took out two people trying to get back on the track. It was like kind of sad.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll just like keep an eye out for that. I'm like sure that he's gonna be fine because like, he like did finish the race. So I mean, we'll like keep an eye out for any injury concerns with him. But I mean, he like should be fine next race, I would assume.
I mean, he should be fine, but I mean, yeah, we don't know. I mean, look, he could be like Cody Shock. I broke my collarbone, and I'm going to come out and get seventh the next race. But
That's true.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the. I mean, he got a good start. He was in second place. He was having a really good race. I mean, the beginning of that race, Kitchen got the whole shot, and then there's like 3-star Yamaha bikes right behind him. That the army of the Starmy, I guess we can call it. But there's like so many of these star Yamaha bikes. Jordan Smith was one of them. Michael Moseman in his first race, he was actually my deep pick last week, and I said last week, predict around a seventh going into this race. He ended up getting sixth, but I picked him up on my team, and I actually had bumped him up to fourth because he was fastest qualifier. I got a little too optimistic, and he ended up sixth, but like an okay first race for Moseman.
I would say better than okay. I mean, really, he like came and like freaking kicked more ass than I thought he would. And like, anytime that you just show up and are going against like the best 250 riders in the world and like you pull a sixth, I mean, props to Mosiman. And like, yeah, check your league. If like people were snoozing and like didn't pick up Mosiman, pick up that dude right now because he's going to score you some real points next week.
Yeah, and I did. Okay. Do you want to do some picks?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to go with your deep pick? You already did your lock, which was Sexton, which is smart. Who's your deep pick next week? Triple Crown.
All right, fine. I'll shoot my whole shot first. I'm going. I mean, just for someone sort of interesting to talk about, Anthony Borden. Who I mean, you would have asked me who that was in December. I would have had absolutely no idea. Anthony Borden is doing excellent in Supercross on the Bar X Suzuki team, an eighth place this week. He's gone 6'10, 6'12, 8, but I mean, is basically just a newcomer to Supercross, is really, really good. I'm guessing everyone's probably picked him up in their league now, but maybe somebody didn't because they don't know who Anthony Borden is, but he's quietly being really, really consistent. I've got him predicted for an eighth at next race.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I know that he's like one of those guys, like you said, a like average Supercross fan might not even know who that is. But I mean, he has like proved himself that he is a like top 10 guy and like should keep on finishing top 10. So I could definitely agree with that. Um,
All right, who you got?
so my I will start with lock of the week. And after I just went on a big rant about him, I actually am going Ken Roxon for my lock of the week, as long as he could get his Kickstart issue dialed in. It is a Triple Crown next week. Last Triple Crown, he got second. He's a great starter. He's a veteran, which like normally leans towards those Triple Crowns. And I think that this race kind of pissed him off a little bit too, knowing that like he had to sit there kicking his bike. People are talking about it, but he's had really good speed this year. I mean, almost more speed than I even thought he was going to have. So I think next week he's a podium lock. I would predict him third place, right there on the podium behind someone like Jet, maybe Webb, maybe Sexton. But I'm going to take Roxon for that third spot.
Cool. I like the pick for Roxon. I mean, it's not a gimme because I mean he's got 2 5th places in the last 4 rounds, but he is good at Triple Crown formats. I like it. I want to see it happen. All right, who's your deep pick?
So my deep pick is someone who's in ninth place in the fantasy scoring, but he has a race win under his belt. So obviously he knows how to ride a motorcycle. That is Nate Thrasher. He like started the season terrible with an 18th and then came back with a win and a podium back to back. Then he missed Glendale and then didn't do too well in Seattle either. This like past race got a ninth. But I mean, I think that he's due to like turn it around, kind of be more towards that like top 5 area that he has been 2 races this year. So I would say Nate Thrasher in a 5th place prediction. He'll probably finish around 5th or 4th, even if things get spicy.
He is healthy, right? After that crazy, flip off the bike get off he had at what, Glendale, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he like raced Saturday night. I mean, he didn't do his best, but I mean, with another week of rest, I think that he like should be right back to where he should be.
Yeah, I mean he's super hot and cold, but when he's hot, he's hot. I mean, yeah, he's winning San Diego, 3rd place at Anaheim too. Yeah, Nate Thrasher's really fast. I hope he's again one of those guys that can sort of get it together. But okay, what's your prediction for Nate?
I'm gonna say 5th.
5th place. Okay, that's a place he's not finished yet this year. So we'll revisit that
Oh,
next
he's
week.
due.
Okay,
He's due for a 5th.
I th- all right, I think that's all we got. Please, yeah, like we talked about, follow us on social media. We post our matchup results on there, so you can see, how good or shitty we're doing in our leagues. Speed League Fantasy, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us, shout us out. Um, uh, Check out the website. Again, everything's free. It's fun. Just come out and have fun. But all right, we will see you next week. St. Louis Triple Crown. Peace.
Good luck.